A new dawn in Rome. On the morning of May 7th, 2025, Rome woke up like any other day. Pilgrims walked through the streets with quiet hope in their hearts. What they didn't know was that something historic was about to happen. All eyes were on one place, the chimney above the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. Everyone was waiting for a sign: white smoke. That would mean the Cardinals had chosen a new pope. And then it appeared. A puff of white smoke rose into the blue sky. The crowd gasped in amazement. Bells from St. Peter's Basilica rang out loudly and joyfully, filling the air with celebration. Habemus Papam, we have a pope. The words echoed across the square, carried on the breeze, whispers in the Sistine Chapel. Inside the Sistine Chapel, an age-old tradition had quietly played out. Cardinals from all over the world had come together to pray, think deeply, and choose the next leader of the Catholic Church. It wasn't an easy decision. They were carrying the responsibility of choosing the next successor to St. Peter. Names were whispered, full of both hope and uncertainty. The atmosphere was tense, but full of purpose. Then, finally, a decision came, like a quiet voice breaking through the silence. The name was spoken: Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. We have a pope. The world watches in awe from the grand balcony above St. Peter's Square. The ancient Latin words echoed, Habemus Papam. We have a pope. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing. The new leader of the Catholic Church had been chosen. His name, Luis Antonio Tagle, a cardinal from the Philippines. He would now be known as Pope Luis I, the first pope from Asia, and the first Filipino to ever hold the role. It was a moment the world would never forget. The crowd in Rome burst into cheers, faces filled with surprise and joy. People clapped, cried, and shouted in dozens of languages, all celebrating together. From New York to Nairobi, from Paris to Sydney, the news traveled fast. It lit a spark of joy and hope for the 1.4 billion Catholics across the globe. Celebration fills the streets of Manila. But nowhere was the excitement louder or more heartfelt than in the Philippines. The entire country came alive. Streets turned into festivals. In Manila, the capital city, celebrations erupted with music, dancing, and waving flags. Confetti flew from buildings, and both Vatican and Philippine flags waved side by side in the warm breeze. At Quiapo Church, where many had stayed up praying and hoping, the moment brought tears and hugs. People who had never met embraced like family. Drums beat, choirs sang, and the air was thick with joy and pride. For the Filipino people, this wasn't just news, it was history in the making. A humble leader from the Philippines, Pope Luis I, was no stranger to the people. Born and raised in the Philippines, he had lived a life close to everyday struggles. From the busy streets of Manila to the sacred halls of the Vatican, he had always stayed true to his humble roots. He cared deeply for the poor and the forgotten, and never lost touch with ordinary people. To many around the world, he felt like one of their own, not a distant figure in a high place, but someone who truly understood them. A leader with heart, a shepherd who, as many say, still smells like his sheep. Joy echoes around the world. People everywhere watched in awe as a gentle, humble man from the Philippines stepped into one of the most important roles on earth. From the skyscrapers of Asia to the quiet villages of Africa, from the lively streets of Latin America to the old stone churches of Europe, there was a shared sense of amazement and hope. The Catholic Church had a new leader, and he stood for kindness and unity. Social media lit up. Number sign Pope Luis, and number sign "A New Era for the Church" began trending across the globe. News anchors spoke with excitement, trying to grasp the meaning of this historic moment. The world was watching closely, moved by a pope who seemed so real, so sincere, and who had already touched millions of hearts. A pope with a heart for the people. Pope Luis was loved not just for what he believed, but for how he lived. With a warm smile and a heart full of compassion, he had spent his life helping those in need, the poor, the sick, and the forgotten. He didn't seek power or praise. He simply wanted to serve. Many saw in him a return to the true message of Christianity: love, care, and service to others. His words were simple but powerful. He called for unity, for open conversations, for building bridges, not walls. He spoke up for the weak and gently reminded the strong of their responsibility. He led not by command, but by example. One church, one family. Pope Louis I's election sent a clear message. The church belongs to everyone. In a world often divided by hate and fear, he brought a message of peace, love, and understanding. He stood as a bridge between different cultures and continents, showing that faith knows no borders. He dreamed of a church where everyone felt welcome, a church that celebrated differences and brought people together. His vision was bold but deeply needed, a world where we care for one another, walk together, and heal what's broken. A world that, under his leadership, could truly feel like one big family. A new chapter begins as Pope Louis stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, arms open as if to embrace the world. People everywhere held their breath. It was more than just a new beginning for the Catholic Church. It felt like a fresh start for humanity itself. This kind and humble man from the Philippines showed the world that true leadership can come from the most unexpected places. His election wasn't just a ceremony. It was a powerful symbol of faith, humility, and compassion. As the sun dipped behind the Vatican and shadows stretched across St. Peter's Square, hope filled the air. The future still held many unknowns, but one thing felt certain. A new era of unity and love had begun. The sacred tradition of the conclave. The conclave, the special gathering where cardinals choose a new pope, is a sacred tradition that goes back centuries. Held in the Sistine Chapel, it's a time of deep prayer, reflection, and soul-searching. The cardinals aren't just casting votes. They're carrying the hopes of millions of Catholics from every corner of the globe. Each conclave links the Church's present to its long and rich history. When white smoke finally rises from the chapel chimney, the world knows, Habemus Papam. We have a pope. That moment unites people everywhere in a shared feeling of excitement and faith. For Pope Louis, this moment was the start of something bigger, a chance to build on that history and lead the Church with love, compassion, and hope. The conclave gave the Church a leader who will carry forward its mission to be a light in a world that deeply needs healing and connection. The humble beginnings of Pope Louis XIII. Long before he became Pope, he was simply Luis, a boy growing up in a modest neighborhood in Manila. Surrounded by a loving family and the lively spirit of Filipino culture, Luis learned early the values of faith, hard work, and kindness. From a young age, he felt a deep connection to the Church. The words of the gospel gave him peace and purpose, and he knew he wanted to serve others. His path to becoming a priest wasn't easy, but every challenge only made him stronger, more faithful, and more dedicated to helping those in need. That boy from Manila grew into a man who would one day lead the Catholic Church, not by seeking power, but by living a life of service, humility, and love. A shepherd with a heart for the poor. Luis's life was defined by his deep care for the poor and his passion for justice. In the crowded slums of Manila, he became a familiar and comforting presence, not just preaching sermons, but bringing real help and hope to people in need. His kindness and constant presence among the forgotten earned him a special name, the Shepherd of the Poor. Even as he rose through the ranks of the church, Luis never changed. He stayed grounded, humble, and dedicated to serving others. His life showed that faith is more than words. It's action. The cardinals who chose him saw not just a capable leader, but a man whose heart reflected the teachings of Christ. His election as Pope Luis I wasn't just a reward for his past, it was a promise for the future. A future led by someone who listens, who cares, and who leads with love. Though he now stands at the head of the Catholic Church, he still carries with him the soul of a humble servant from Manila. As the Church steps forward into a new chapter, Pope Luis I's journey reminds us of what truly matters: serving others, loving deeply, and staying faithful through all of life's challenges. His story brings hope that the Church will continue to be a light of compassion, unity, and strength in a world that often feels divided and uncertain. A global wave of hope. News of Pope Luis's election quickly spread around the world, and everywhere it sparked a powerful wave of joy and unity. People from all walks of life, all faiths, and all corners of the globe paused to take in the moment. In New York City, crowds gathered around giant screens, watching the announcement with wide eyes and hopeful hearts. "This is the beginning of something new," one person said. "His story speaks to people everywhere." In Europe, church bells rang out from Paris to Rome, and churches filled with prayer and celebration. In the heart of Barcelona, a parishioner wiped away tears and said, "He's a pope who truly understands us." In Africa, the celebration took on a local rhythm. In towns and villages, people danced, sang, and prayed. In Nairobi, a priest shared his joy. Pope Luis's life gives us hope. He knows what it means to struggle. He reminds us that the Church will always stand with those who are hurting. A world rejoices, a pope for the people. In Latin America, where Catholicism runs deep in the culture and the heart, the election of Pope Luis I sparked an outpouring of joy. In Brazil, crowds gathered for spontaneous masses, their voices rising in prayer and celebration. In Buenos Aires, a young man smiled as he said, "He's one of us. He knows our struggles and shares our dreams." Across Asia, from the sacred temples of India to the towering skylines of Tokyo, people felt a personal connection to the new pope. In Manila, the streets were alive with color and song. Flags waved, hymns filled the air, and people embraced with tears of happiness. "He is our pride," said an elderly woman, her voice trembling with emotion. Pope Luis I gives us hope. Even in places where Christians are few, the impact was felt. In Beirut, a Christian family lit candles and prayed for peace. "We pray that Pope Luis I will bring light to the world," they said. "He is a symbol of hope for all humanity." As night fell on this unforgettable day, people everywhere felt united, regardless of language, background, or faith. The world wasn't just witnessing a change in the Catholic Church. It was witnessing a reminder of what brings us together: faith, compassion, and the dream of a better future. From every continent, the message was clear. The world believes in Pope Luis I. With his humble heart and servant spirit, he has become a guiding light in uncertain times. Looking ahead, a new direction with Pope Luis. While celebrations continue, Hearts and minds are already turning toward the future. With Pope Luis I at the helm, many feel hopeful that the Catholic Church is entering a new chapter, one focused on healing, inclusion, and action. A longtime champion for the poor, Pope Luis I is expected to bring social justice to the forefront of the Church's mission. Having spent years walking alongside those living in poverty, he understands the urgent need to address inequality, defend human rights, and give a voice to the unheard. His experience in the slums of Manila isn't just a background, it's a guide for his vision. Caring for the earth is also expected to be a top priority. With the world facing a growing environmental crisis, Pope Luis I has spoken about the deep connection between people and the planet. His leadership could inspire millions to treat nature with respect and work toward a more sustainable, shared future. In today's divided world, his passion for unity stands out. Pope Luis I has already shown a strong commitment to interfaith dialogue, reaching out to people of all religions and cultures. He believes that through listening, respect, and cooperation, we can build bridges where there were once walls. Pope Luis I's leadership promises more than just change. It offers a renewed spirit of hope, a church that listens, a church that acts, a church that walks with the people. A new vision for the church with Pope Luis III. Pope Luis III's leadership is expected to bring a fresh focus on caring for people and renewing spiritual life within the church. His deep commitment to humility and service serves as a powerful example for both clergy and laypeople, encouraging everyone to reconnect with the core teachings of the gospel. His leadership style, based on openness and inclusivity, is likely to make the church more involved and engaged in its mission, allowing people to feel more connected and heard. As Pope Luis III begins his papacy, the world watches with hope. His leadership represents a vision of the church that isn't just about faith, but also about being a force for good in a rapidly changing world. Under his guidance, the Catholic Church is set to navigate the challenges of modern life with compassion, faith, and grace. The future of the Church with Pope Luis I at the helm holds great promise. A time to unite people globally with a shared mission of love, justice, and care for the world around us. The start of his papacy marks the beginning of an exciting new era, full of opportunities for transformation and lasting hope. It's a bright new chapter that shines with possibility for the Church and for humanity as a whole. Looking back on the 2025 Vatican Papal Conclave. Reflecting on the 2025 Papal Conclave, it stands as a historic and significant moment in the life of the Catholic Church. Held in the sacred Sistine Chapel, 120 cardinals from around the world gathered to choose the new leader of the Church, carrying with them the prayers and hopes of millions. The conclave began with a special Mass, asking for the Holy Spirit's guidance, an ancient tradition that sets the tone for this important decision. As the cardinals entered the chapel, the doors were locked behind them, symbolizing their complete focus on the task at hand. Each cardinal took an oath to keep the process a secret, ensuring the sanctity of their decision. Over the following days, the cardinals spent time in prayer and reflection, seeking wisdom and unity. Despite their different backgrounds and experiences, they came together with one shared goal: to choose the next shepherd for the Church. The world watched in suspense, waiting for the smoke signals from the chapel's chimney, the black smoke signifying no decision yet, and the white smoke that would confirm the election of a new pope. A historic moment. The election of Pope Luis I. The turning point of the conclave came on the fourth day, when white smoke finally rose from the chimney, signaling that a new pope had been chosen. The world held its breath, as the announcement echoed through St. Peter's Square. Habemus Papam. We have a Pope. Pope Luis I stepped out onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, greeted by the joyous cheers of the crowd below and millions more watching from around the world. His first words as Pope were heartfelt and humble. He asked for the prayers of the people and promised to lead with kindness and compassion. His election was a historic moment, as he became the first pope from the Philippines, bringing fresh hope and a new perspective to the Church. The 2025 Papal Conclave will be remembered not only for the election of Pope Luis I, but also for the sense of unity and thoughtful decision-making that defined the process. It showed the strength of the Church and its ability to face today's challenges with faith and grace. Looking back on this unforgettable event, we see how much it has meant to the global Catholic community. The conclave was a beacon of hope, lighting the way for a new chapter in the Church's journey. The legacy of the 2025 Papal Conclave will inspire future generations as Pope Luis I leads the Church on its mission of love, justice, and care for the world. Please subscribe to our channel, God Always, for more insightful videos and intriguing content.